Welcome back to another Deep Dive with Colin. As you can see, we have the transfers printed out that you saw us go over in the last two videos. We're going to go through the ins and outs of getting these transfers onto these garments. There's a couple of things that I want to point out for everyone when it comes to actually transferring transfers and the temperature zones that you can be in with those transfers. The majority of DTF printers out there have now switched over to offering a hot split or hot peel transfer paper. And within that, they're also using low temperature powders, which allow you, the end user, the person who's doing all the application, a range in temperatures that you can actually use and go through to get your transfer onto your garment. In the case of OmniPrint, we've had deep discussions with them, and the powder that they're using, we can either do a hot peel transfer at 260 degrees all the way up to 320. And we're going to show you how to use those temperature swings, the low temp press and the standard temp press, to your benefit depending on the fabric you're working on. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to be using a Stahl's transfer press. This is one with the magnetic release. So if we were to push this down, there's a timer that kicks on. I currently have it set for 25 seconds. It will automatically pop when the timer is done. So the first test that we're going to do is going to be on polyester, and we're going to be transferring over this little left chest that we've got here. Because it's polyester, I don't want to run the risk of heat and pressure putting a mark on the fabric. As a lot of you may have already encountered or have seen in other situations, if your heat press is too hot and you have too much pressure, you can actually flatten the thread of the polyester garment, giving it a shine in that area. And unlike cotton, you can't get rid of it. So I'm going to put this on the heat press. We are at 260 degrees. Because of the lower temperature, we want to extend our time just a little bit in order to allow the glue to actually melt and adhere to everything on the garment. So let's go ahead and put this garment on and give a little press. Get this nice and flat. Put a Teflon sheet on here just to make sure that I'm not going to damage the fabric. I just want to basically give this a little bit of an iron. Is this strictly necessary? No, it is not. So I know that there are a lot of tools out there available to help you with placing a transfer on your garment. There's the large pieces of plastic with the neck hole cut out with all kinds of measurement tools on there. Having been a screen printer for over 20 years, design placement is kind of second nature at this point for me. So I am going to wing it and go off of the left chest, distance down, up just a little bit, place that down, put my Teflon over it. And again, because we're going for a low temperature, we want to add a little bit of time to allow all the hot melt powder, the adhesive, to properly do its job. So I'm going to wait for this to go through the 25-second countdown, and then when it pops, I'm actually going to control that pop. I don't want it to come up of its own power, because that can create suction on that when it comes up, and that can start to lift and move things, which is not something we really want to do. Remove the Teflon, and this is a hot peel. Boom. 260 degrees transferred onto polyester. And then as always, the second press. You're typically going for about that same time and temperature. Now, did we need to go for 25 seconds? I'm not certain. I haven't done a whole lot of polyester. I just know that that was my starting point. And now what I can do is I can start to back down on my time to see if I can press any faster. Considering how that stuck a little bit to the Teflon sheet, I can probably go a little bit faster. I don't need to go to that 25 seconds. And there we go, a low temperature transfer onto polyester. Again, we were at 260 degrees. And this was honestly, this is my first time transferring a low temp onto polyester. It did exactly what I was expecting it to do. Balance that time and balance that pressure for any kind of delicate material. And that's what polyester is. It's considered a delicate material. So find what you need for whatever that fabric is. By the way, this feels real soft. This feels respectable. And being a screen printing purist, pretty happy with that. A couple more notes on polyester. If you are transferring onto a variety of garments supplied by different manufacturers that are all polyester, always do a test, and basically you're looking for a bleed test within this. If you're unable, if the transfers you have are not a low temp transfer variety, do a test to make sure that you're not seeing any dye migration. Do another test to see how fast you can do all of your transfers temps at. So how long you need to actually transfer for. You're actually going to be surprised at how fast a lot of the transfers today can actually go onto the garment. There's a lot of comments about it being a 5-second press at lower temperatures because it comes off of the paper really quick because the paper is designed for it. The glue, of course, is already melted well enough to grab onto the garment. And then after that, you're doing a final seal, a final press to make sure that the glue is properly into the weave of the fabric and holding on to the transfer so it stays on, greater wash durability, etc. Let's do some transfers onto black 50/50 garments. This is a Port & Company Core Blend. Not the softest t-shirt in the world, but you know what? A lot of people just want an inexpensive garment, hence a 50/50. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna work with the Ninja transfer. You may have heard that we have partnered up with Ninja to do a lot of transfer fulfillment. So let's see how this guy works on a black t-shirt. Now Ninja transfers, they recommend 310 degrees for about 15 seconds. So reading between the lines, it sounds like you've got a range of temperatures that you can apply it for, because it sounds like it's going to transfer over pretty quick. Not that I'm going to truly test that out right now, but it's just a way to read between the lines. But if you're ever in doubt of how to transfer any transfer that you have, always follow the manufacturer's recommendations. They've done so much testing that any of your little, well, what about? Trust me, they've done it. They've tested it. If you have a question, contact them. They will be able to give you an answer about how to get the best transfer. The temperature on the heat press got up to 310 degrees. So now we're going to press the Ninja transfer. We changed our settings to 15 seconds for the heat press. And I need to put the t-shirt on the platen here and check my pressure settings. I noticed that when I closed it before, the pressure settings that I set ended up being a little high. So I'm going to double check them with the fabric actually on the platen. Oh, definitely a little high. That read out at 9 pounds, or 9, which is about 90. That's at 7. Now we're at 6. When I put the Teflon sheet on there and the transfer, that's actually going to go up again. I want to be down just a little bit lower. If I'm shooting between a 5 and a 7, and I say, oh, I want to be at 5, I actually want to probably be at 4, so that when I put the transfer on there and then the Teflon sheet, that little bit of extra loft, that can give me a 5. So what do the numbers actually mean when you're reading them on a heat press like this? Well, the numbers, you'll have a pressure range between 0 and 10. After 10, it goes off the chart. So the numbers loosely correlate to the PSI if you were to have an air-driven transfer machine. So if you have 50 pounds of pressure from the PSI on the air-driven, that's roughly correlates to a 5 for the pressure here. So that's what we're shooting for. This is the fun thing. Oh, you know, use medium to high pressure. Well, what does medium to high pressure really mean? 5 for medium pressure. So anywhere between 4 and 6, I consider medium pressure. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a 1, point pressure in between everybody. High pressure is going to be probably 7, 8, or 9. 9's a lot of pressure. I mean, if you were to look at edge on at that silicone pad, which you can't really see right now, it's covered up by the t-shirt, you're going to see that really get squished out. And in the long run, it's not that big a deal. You can see press marks on your shirt, or you can see maybe some damage to your polyester thread, flattening out the thread itself. I used to skateboard a lot when I was a kid, and power sliding was a lot of fun. I always related to the flat spots that you could get on your wheels if you were a skateboarder. If you're not a skater, talk to one of your skater friends. Temperature and pressure, there is a combination, something that you want to be aware of and something you will learn over time as you heat press more and more. I want to center here, not necessarily weighted properly. Center of the collar is here, center of that, there we go. 3 fingers, 4 fingers down, 3 fingers right about there. Put my Teflon sheet on. 310, applied, 6 pounds of pressure, 5. So it's like right in between 5 and 6. I made a good guess. And it's up, let it go up slowly, peel this off. Now Ninja says that this, you wait just a little bit, you need to wait just a little bit longer. This is more like a warm peel, not considered a hot peel. A hot peel is you transfer it, pull off your Teflon, and immediately peel it off. This one I would call more of a warm peel, meaning you gotta let it cool down just a little bit before you peel it off. And all that means is that the transfer paper that you're using is just a little different than the other guys. It's gonna peel great. So we have one corner here that came up, so we're gonna put our Teflon back on there, give it another press. And then we're gonna do another one onto white, and we'll do the process correct. And there we go, transferred over. That little corner looks like it came down and reapplied itself pretty good. Transfer is on there, feels respectable. Let's transfer one over on white. So now that we've just gone through a learning process of the proper time frame to peel this one, we're gonna do it correctly. Give it a good pull, transfer comes off clean. If you try and go delicate when you're peeling off a transfer, especially when we're trying to make some of these videos, it doesn't want to transfer off as easy as if you do when you just give it a yank like a Band-Aid. So don't follow what you always see in these transfer videos. Give it a quick yank, just like a Band-Aid. So we're gonna transfer one of the designs you saw in the Illustrator video. This is the one for football. You can see that it has a lot of hinges. This one we specifically did for dark colored shirts. So the white on the back is not a full solid sheet of white. Depending on the DTF printer you have these options in your settings. Within the OmniPrint specifically, we have 4 different white base variables that we can use. So I'm using this one specifically designed for dark shirts. So this blue that I see here should darken up just a little bit when I press this onto a black shirt. Now I'm going to use the same temperature settings of 310 that we did for Ninja, but I'm going to increase the time to 20 seconds because I'm not quite sure what a small drop in temp is going to do to my time, and it's still something that I am figuring out. I'm probably going to be fine at 10 to 15 seconds, but I always like to err on that side of caution. A little bit longer is not going to hurt this. We're going on a 50-50 black garment. Now remember, this one is a hot peel, so I'm going to remove the Teflon and the carrier sheet very quickly. Control the pop, pull the Teflon, peel off quickly just like a Band-Aid. That white's really nice. So like I spoke to in the video for DTF art creation for Illustrator, this design has a lot of hinges, and as a result, all the black that you see there, of course, is the t-shirt, but it allows the garment itself to flex more. So it doesn't feel like we've got a big transfer, a big square. Feels pretty nice. Now we're going to transfer over the Panther design, where we were talking about when knocking out the black, we wanted to create more contrast. It's not about getting really nice smooth fades. It's about creating that high contrast between the colors. So let's put that to the test and transfer this onto our shirt. Now I did change my time down to 15 seconds, so we're gonna see how well that works in comparison to the Ninja transfer. Now it's been very humid around here lately. In fact, we've had to work really hard to control the humidity in where our DTF machine is. So I'm actually going to pre-press this to try and get rid of some of that moisture, just so that there is no barrier created. Now, in talking to the majority of the hot melt powder producers and the other companies that are making DTF transfers, that's not as much of an issue as it used to be, but call me old school. I like to err on the side of caution, so I'm gonna warm this sucker up. All right, moment of truth. That looks really good. I am very happy with what I produced there and how this turned out. The same temperatures and times work great with the OmniPrint. Now, my screen print sensibilities. I can still see some things in here that I would want to change. But this means that I need to play and learn and use the tool, use the direct-to-film and do a couple of things. But overall, there's really very little that I can actually argue about with this. We still have in some of those shadow areas where we were talking about that fade in the art, where that wispiness is difficult to create. When the print catches the light, you can see the reflection off of those shadows and fades, which is why it's not always desirable to do a full fade transition, because it doesn't always look right. It doesn't fade into the garment. It still has a reflection, and that reflection makes our eye think that it's not right. Now again, that's a screen printer sensibility. As a person who's like, hey, can I get this on a shirt? I have a group of 20, that needs 24 pieces, maybe 50. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I've got a hoodie I want to transfer. So we were talking about separating and knocking out the black of this Halloween Mama design. And we were talking about how it was a really bad JPEG. And I could see when it printed that some of that color ended up distorting a little bit. Now again, this one I was printing out as specifically for black garments. So the white underbase on it is not as complete. It's not a full white underbase. So we're going to have some of that garment coming through as a background color influence. But I wanted to point that out, that it's a thing. JPEGs are JPEGs, guys. There's not a whole lot you can do. Do not expect excellence. Let's get this on a hoodie. We're going to use the same settings we did before, but I need to double check my pressure because this is a thicker garment. Now, when you're doing hoodies, and we're doing them as a heat press, we still have the concern of centering properly and understanding that the pocket, it's merely a suggestion with where it's supposed to be. Do not ever expect it to be straight. So we're gonna go off the shoulder seams for centering and then the side to make sure that it's centered as much as possible. Because there's this extra fabric here, we've got that fabric mass of the pocket. We don't want to put this collar on as much as we can because we need to be able to get enough pressure to go past the pocket. Even though this reads out as 5, if I was to heat press this now, it'd probably go off the chart. And then just test my pressures. That says 9. Back off on it. 6. Let's go up just a little bit. Now the majority of that pressure response that I'm getting on the heat press is coming from where the pocket is. Even though it's pressing into that silicone pad, that's where the majority of that pushback is coming from. So I do want to be a little bit high to make sure that I get the proper contact made with the rest of the fabric. Get that a little bit down, about equidistant between the hoodie, the collar of the hoodie and the pocket. And we're going to use the same settings, 310, 15 seconds. Control the pop, pull the Teflon, rip it off like a Band-Aid. So we can see a little bit of the that discoloration that we have from the JPEG here, the grays aren't really coming out as gray. They're a gray intent. But you know what? Overall, it does look pretty good. Definitely a JPEG, you know, and overall for what this is, I'm happy with it. I would, of course, have liked to be able to get some of those colors where I want them to be. But again, that's a lot of work for a JPEG, and this was a one-off. We weren't doing any more than this. I did learn that I probably need to change my temps and pressures for a hoodie. I did get a very small amount of an edge peel. I'm happy, I'm content. I do have some things in here that I want to look at for the next time I do one though. So this is going to be the last one of the afternoon. We are going to heat press Godzilla, a little Gojira. This one does not have as much white behind it. It's not necessary. We're going to put it on a lighter color garment. So it's only brightening up where it needs to be brightened up. If we were doing some lighter color garments, this is a great solution. So let's heat press this little guy. Same temperatures and press time, 310 for 15 seconds. Oh, we can see here that I forgot to change my pressures. The pressure is down at 3. Let's see how well this does at a lower pressure. Transferred just fine. Up to 5 for that final press. So what you saw in that was an accidental, that was an oops. But as long as you're able to heat up the adhesive powder that's on your transfer, get it to melt and then adhere to the shirt, step 1 is achieved. That's anywhere between 260 and 320. That powder, that hot melt powder is going to react. Step 2 is having a release paper that is actually going to release at these quicker press times or lighter pressure, whatever that is. And the majority of DTF manufacturers and suppliers are moving to that hot peel paper that allows you to pull the transfer paper off immediately. All the fun little songs about go, go, go Godzilla going through my head right now. Now, of course, this is a giant patch. And it's a giant patch on a stiffer shirt. This is not gonna feel as good to wear as any of the other designs are. So when you're doing your art and you're having fun with the design, sure, no problem. These are one-offs, these are party favors. These are just stuff to enjoy print. But when you have a design like this and they're asking for a stiffer shirt, try to work with your customer on maybe creating a slightly softer hand, knock out some of the design, find a way to make this a more enjoyable print. That is by following the videos that we did precluding this one, talking about creating hinges in your art so that the art itself can flex and breathe and it's a nicer shirt to wear. And instead of it being, a party shirt, just something that you do for an occasion, it becomes a shirt that you wear long term. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive on DTF. I know it's not traditional screen printing, but it is something that is a solidified part of our industry. We'll be covering more DTF topics here in the future. If there's anything specific that you would like to see in that world of creating a direct-to-film transfer, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you and your experiences. Maybe we can recreate them and fix them or find a way to improve upon them. As always, like and subscribe. If this is something that's going to help out a friend, share it with them. We really appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.